Alright, here we go. The stuff I'm getting ready to start to explain, I don't know if we'll get through it in 1 day or 2 days, but we'll definitely be done in 2 days. But the stuff that I'm getting ready to start to explain, I wouldn't have anybody using unless that you're comfortably writing about 3,000 a week already. Because the DVDs that we have so far, or whatever's on this camera that I beg you, Della Honey, please don't lose all these DVDs, all these CDs that we've been recording. Please make sure that these make it onto a DVD and we don't erase these, please. That's like a nightmare of mine. I'm afraid. I pray for that not to happen. Please don't let that happen.
When Country comes back, we'll put them on disc.
Make sure it gets right onto that computer and gets onto a DVD. But all the stuff that we've recorded so far, if you pay attention to it and watch it over and over and over, I guarantee you, I don't think so, I don't hope so, I guarantee you, if you master all the DVDs that have been put out before this, you will be writing 3,000 a week. For sure. I promise. If you can quote everything that I've said on those DVDs and Country said and everything verbatim, you got everything down, you will be writing 3,000 a week. I wouldn't have you watching this one or doing anything that I'm doing unless you can write 3,000 a week consistently first. So don't try this at home. You know, those commercials that, please don't try this at home. And when they start doing tricks, and shit, they start putting down, don't do this at home, unless you're certified to do this or something. So don't do this unless you're ready to rock and roll. So the first thing I'm going to go over is I'm going to just start educating you on other policies, a couple other policies that are out there, okay, that we're going to go ahead and educate you that if it's in their best interest to go ahead and replace those policies with something that, with the whole life policy, because probably 90% of the homes that you go into think that what they have is whole life. Almost everybody thinks that they have whole life. So I'm going to teach you how to get their policies, to read and look over their policies. The only time that this would ever be a problem is if you're not doing something that's in the best interest of the client, you're not educated enough to give them an opinion. And then I always tell everybody, it's good, I would advise everybody to keep as much insurance on yourself as possible. So I'm not saying, maybe to cancel, but that's up to you, to do. Because that covers me. Because I always try and use the rule of thumb in the home. Number one, I try and care for people, honestly care for people. And second is I always try and approach it as if the Department of Insurance has a camera directly into the home. This way that I'm always on point with everything that I say, and I'm crossing all my T's and dotting all my I's, to the point to where I would say, well, if you wanted to do that, then that's up to you. I'm not going to say, per se, that that's what you should do. Here's the information. Here's the education. That's up for you to make that decision. You know what I'm saying? So it's not on me telling them cancel this policy, because then you can get into problems with the Department of Insurance. But however, I can educate you, give you the facts, and tell you that it's up to you. On basically what you want to do from that. And then I'll teach you the right words to say on how to get these people to pull out their policies. It's an art to get them to pull out their policies. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to educate you on 2 policies. Okay? You might think that you're educated on it, but we're going to really go over that. Okay. If anybody comes across one of these, or a family member, you'd be surprised one of your family members has one of these. If you want to just grab it and bring it in, and so I could teach you and show you exactly the way it looks on there, but I'm going to try and explain to you the best I possibly can about this one. because most of these are shot as of right now. If you find these, you're gonna do somebody a service if you can give them a whole life product, because these are gonna be shot by the time that they pass on, if they pass on at a normal age. Unless, very few situations, unless they're overfunded with a lot of money, then it could possibly work out for them. But in our market, most of the people that we see, most of the time it ain't funded right. It's gonna be gone. Mama, you're good. All right. So first we're gonna go over this, then we're gonna go over this. Okay, and how to explain both, and how to beat both. Okay. First, just to throw it, I'm just gonna go off the top of my head. Short is short. Term is short for terminate. Renting versus owning. You want to rent your home or own your home? And why? Why won't you just rent and invest the difference, save up a bunch of money for the next 20, 30 years, and then buy a house cash? Nobody does that. Okay? Renting versus owning. This is based off age. No cash value. Usually gone at 65. Usually. Not all the time. Most of the time. Usually gone at 65. Okay? So just a couple things when I start to educate people on the difference, because the majority of the people that you see aren't educated on even what they have. You ask most of the people you know what type of insurance that they have, they don't know. I just talked to a good friend of mine from high school, Swall. My dude's 6'5", his wife's 6'1". She might be taller, and they just had a baby. I can't even, that's like a breeder. You know what I'm saying? But he was telling me how I got $1 million through another company. He was feeling guilty. He said he wanted to change with me. I'm like, I don't need it. You know, I got enough clients, bro. If that's what you want to do, you're more than welcome to go. But I said, well, what kind do you have? Do you know what kind that you have? He says, no, I got insurance. I said, well, what if I asked you, what type of car do you have? And you just said, I got a car. Everybody got the same thing, a car. Isn't there different types of vehicles that do different things? There's pickup trucks, there's some cars, there's Corvettes, and then there's Range Rovers and Escalades and different SUVs and Tahoes. Well, you wouldn't want to be driving a Corvette and not know that you're driving a Corvette, and then it's time to get up Mount Washington and you realize that you don't have a Range Rover, you don't have a Cadillac Escalade or an SUV that's going to run you up that hill. Okay, when it's snowing, it's too late at that point, or when you're halfway up the hill and your car is not four-wheel drive, but you thought that it was. It's different. Front wheel, rear wheel, four-wheel, two-wheel. It's a big difference. You can't just say, I have a car. Well, yeah, you have a car, and they get you from point A to point B. You got the right concept. You know that you need to get from point A to point B, but it's important to know exactly what type of vehicle that you have. It's like, you know, if we left Pennsylvania and we were taking a trip to California and the car just stopped in Arizona. We needed to get us to California. So when we start off, here's the way I explain it. When we start off, it's cheap. Okay, it's cheap. 35, 45, 55, 65. Okay? So let's say at 25 is real cheap. Okay, for what you want, you're getting it for $50. Then it jumps up to 100. Then it jumps up to 250. Then it jumps up to 400. Then it's done. Well, if you look at all the money here, Doug, I didn't even give you this one last you add up all this money, 50, 100, 250, 400, all over these years, let's say we round it off to 250 a month. If we pay 400 a month here, 250 a month here, 100 a month here, 50 a month here, we round it off 250 a month. 250 a month times 12 months is how much? $3,000. Okay, well if we do that for 40 years, you spend $120,000 on this policy. And guess what? It's gone. It's gone. It's all gone. It's all gone. This might be for $150,000, $200,000 policy. If I'm an insurance company, this is the one I want everybody to have. Because there's a statistic, I don't know if it's still the same, but less than 3 or 4% of all term policies pay out. Less than 3 or 4%. Check the statistics for me and let me know what it is now. But I remember a couple years ago it was less than 3 or 4% payout. Because most people die at 80 is the average age right now, somewhere around 80. That's 15 years later than what we needed to do for us. So if I'm an insurance company, I got 100 people getting something, I want them to get this one. Ain't it great if someone gives you $100,000, you don't have to give them nothing back? Mm-hmm. It's not as fun when somebody's giving you $50,000 and you got to give them $100,000 back, or $40,000, you got to give them $100,000 back. I'd like for somebody to give me $120,000. I don't give you nothing. I don't give you anything. You don't get nothing, because the chances of you dying after 65, if we were gambling in Vegas with Norm, then in a sweater, then we'd be. I bet on this side. I bet on this side. More often than not, I'm betting on this side. That's a gamble. This is for if you die, whole life is for when you die. Okay? And investing is good. Okay, investing is good. I'm for investing. Or not, Justin. I'm for investing. But here's the thing: is investing is a gamble. Okay, if you have some investments, and let me know how they're doing right now. You can't judge the market. People are losing their ass right now in the market. That's a gamble. That's your investments. When you start to tie in investments with life insurance, those are two completely separate things. Your life insurance isn't your investments. Your investments isn't your life insurance. And I think you should, pour into investments and things of that nature. But there's no guarantee what's going to happen over the next 40 years. You can want to do this and that, but who's going to say that I'm going to make it that long to build up enough investments? Somebody say, well, okay. Not to mention, this is going up. Okay, this is going to go up. Some are 10, some are 20, some might be even 30. Those are going to be more expensive. But they're going to go up and they're going to be done at a certain period of time. Okay? If somebody pays $100 a month for their insurance and they invest, it's for people, to get term, invest the difference. Okay? $100 a month, and they invest $100 a month, okay, which not many people, especially people we see, aren't disciplined enough to do what they say and invest the difference. Are you going to invest the difference?
Start and stop.
Are you going to spend it for Christmas or on a new Harley, on a new motorcycle, or when the kids go to school? Or chances of that happening sometimes are slim to none, especially when you're making $30,000 a year. Okay, but if we spend $100 a month on our policy, and then we invest $100 a month, how much are we really investing?
If you spend 100 and invest 100,
200.
Huh?
200. Is that what you said?
If they're spending 100 on term,
Yeah.
okay, on insurance, and they're investing 100, how much are they really investing?
0.
Huh?
Nothing.
0.
Nothing. This is getting thrown down the toilet.
Yeah.
Am I wrong or right? Unless you die before the age of 65, this is gone. It's gone with the wind. Okay? You throw 100, this is the way I explain both policies. This is term, this is whole life. One bucket has a hole in it, the other bucket doesn't. Okay? So if I'm throwing $100 a month down this bucket, term is going to terminate at 65, or it's going to get too expensive and we're going to cancel it. So if I'm throwing 100, there is no getting it back when you give it to term. There's no cash value. Okay? So if I throw 100 down there and I invest 100, how much am I really investing? Think about it.
Nothing.
Nothing. If I give you 100 and take 100 back, you're at zero. If I give you 100 tomorrow and take another 100 back, we can do this transaction for a month and you're going to have nothing at the end. I'm throwing 100, you know, it's not going to build up as fast as they want to unless they're going to be pouring tons of money on this side. And that is not a guarantee. You know what I'm saying? So I would say things like that. If you throw 100 into here and you invest 100, how much are you really investing? And they'll say 100. And most people, it'll get them thinking. Well, if you throw 100 out and you invest 100, we're breaking even with a risk and a hope and an assumption that the market happens okay, or we don't go to war with Afghanistan forever. We don't end up in a world war because they're bombing the Taj Mahal and it drains the economy. There's no guarantee on investments. It's a gamble. You know what I'm saying? I want something guaranteed for my family. I deal with guarantees because I don't want to be the one to show up at Chance's house 10 years from now and tell him his policy's going up by $300 a month. So he wants to kick my ass. I don't want to do that. When I give you something, that's it. Price ain't going up. This is the way I would structure it if I'm really trying to give somebody a whole life package. This way. And especially, this is for a lot of people don't know the difference. They don't know what they have, what it's going to do. They just know I got insurance. You want to educate them. You know what I mean? I'll show you how to beat this policy, but most of the time you won't even have to. They just don't know what they have. If you just educate them on the two, most people are going to want whole life.
Says 1% of term pays out.
1%. 1% of term policies pay out. I want to start an insurance company right now. You know what I'm saying? Let's do all term, like Prime America and A.L. Williams, who went to jail for insurance fraud with his brothers. And I'll be rich. I'll never pay you nothing. You just pay me everything. Come on, man. Who called me? Your cousin called me from Erie, telling me that his uncle or something was trying to rebuttal him in the house, and he worked for Prime America. I said, and he's trying to dog on your cousin, because he's been in the business for a while, man. I said, listen, go Google A.L. Williams right now and just pull it up, print it off, and hand it to him. Tell him to shut up. A.L. Williams, Prime America, does nothing but term. Their term Invest the Difference Company. They were founded by A.L. Williams and his brothers, who went for insurance fraud.
Land Citigroup's not doing too hot.
And that's okay. I never use that unless somebody starts with me. I don't degrade another company unless somebody starts with me first. You know what I'm saying? But 1% of term products pay out, man. I mean, think about it. You get 100 people to pay $100 a month, or let's just make it simple, $1 a month. We're bringing in $100. We're only going to have to pay out on one of those. 99 of them are going to pay out for 60 years, 40 years, 30 years, and never pay nothing.
I think you're right with a 3% term payout. The 1% is group term, stuff that people have through work.
Group coverage.
Yeah.
And that usually ends at 65, or when they leave the job. It's the same situation. It's the same
Still,
thing.
it's nothing.
All right. This is just, and then make sure that you guys got good notes on this, because this is how I'm explaining this in the house with the ladder. And then I would draw, this is the cost, and I would draw a line here, and this is how I explain whole life. It starts off a little bit more expensive than here, but it stays level, and it builds you up cash value. It all goes into a bucket. But this one starts off low, and just before you know it, it'll be higher than this line. You know what I'm saying? Before you know it, it's higher than this line. Do you rent your home or do you own your home? If your credit's good, why don't you just rent? Why don't you just rent your home instead of buying a home? You know, I've asked. That's what this is. It's renting. Goes to the landlord. Goes to the insurance company. You're not building up any equity, any cash value. You're just renting. You're renting a home. Why won't you just rent a home? Why do people buy a home? So it builds them up in equity. They have ownership of the deal. Eventually it'll be paid off in 30 years. Well, why wouldn't you just rent a house and save the extra couple $100 a month that you would pay in taxes and things that you don't see that you don't have to pay when you rent? Taxes and all that stuff. Save that couple hundred and throw it away for insurance and throw it away for 30 years and just rent your house for 30 years. You'll have the same amount or more. Why won't you just rent the house then? You don't own it. Right? Well, that's what you're doing here. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Let's go. So these are the key things. That's how I explain it over there. And don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for it. And if they have a time and a place for it, then so be it. But if they think that that's going to be their vehicle for the rest of their life, then that's not good. If they have kids that are 15 and they're going to college, then maybe they only really need a huge amount at that point for their kids. Maybe I'll pull out a $1 million policy, $500,000 policy for my kids for 10 years. This way they can make it out of college. So if I die, I know that their college is taken care of. But after that, on me, I need something permanent that's going to carry me the rest of my life. Okay? Because costs are going up and up. There's tax advantages with having whole life. There's things that'll help you skip probate and skip different situations so your children don't get taxed by having whole life. This is all educating yourself. Who has the DVD I handed out to the MGAs with Jim Altig?
CD, yeah.
The CD, I'm sorry. Okay. Can you guys make sure that everybody's not being selfish and gets this CD out to everybody? If I got to go give you the money and somebody go run to Target and buy a big thing of CDs, get it out because it's going to change their career, please. You know what I'm saying? Get this out to everybody, because that's important. It talks about all this stuff, but it talks about educating yourself. You got to educate yourself on what we do, not just our products, but educate yourself on other products. So when you're out there, you know what's going on. You know what people have, and you're a professional, and you could speak with education. One thing I like Zach said on the DVD or on the CD was that he would just when he was young, he was saying when he was young starting with the company, he thought control meant just put some facial hair on. That was the only way he could really start gaining control because he was young. He said, but then after that he started to just explain the rule of 72 to everybody, just so he had the chance to know something that they didn't know, to where the people were like, wow, this guy's kind of educated. He kind of knows what he's talking about. He said it would have nothing to do with any of our products or anything that we were talking about. He just would start explaining the rule of 72 to people, just so people would think, would see that he's educated and knows something, to where they started to respect him, which then gives you control. If you have swagger and you're educated on something and you're speaking into somebody, all of this stuff, and you have all this education, you'll have control, regardless of your age. You know what I'm saying? So that's a quick explanation on term. Don't forget the buckets. Okay, don't forget anything. You got to be able to hit all of this stuff the right way. Okay, the buckets. Out of one bucket builds up dollars in it. The other one has a hole in it. All of these things over here, if, when, all that stuff. Okay, flexible premium. It'll say adjustable premium. That's a universal. Okay, flexible premium, adjustable premium, that's a universal policy. Okay. These were popular in the 80s. Believe it or not, they were still around in the 90s, and even today sometimes people have them. Okay, they'll see. Some of them will say, there, this, variable. And research them if you want. Educate yourself on these things. Educate. Educate yourself on some of this stuff. These are pretty much all in the same category. We're in the 80s, some of the interest rates were 12, 13, 14%. Okay? So it was good to have one of these because it basically, what they were doing is that the cost of insurance was low. So let's say that they were spending $30 a month on their insurance policy. Okay? $50 total, $20 a month. They were pretty much investing this and some of this into a pool of money, into, let's call it a bank. And it's like an investment. And they were getting 12 to 14% in this bucket. So when they were young, it's the same, like a term almost. Okay, when they were young, the cost of insurance was low. When they got older, the cost of insurance was high. Okay, well what happened is, the older that they got, going up the ladder, it might jump up to $100 a month, $400 a month, the cost of insurance did. Okay, but what they were doing is that the interest rates were so high that it was building up a lot of cash value into this pool to offset the cost. So if they were spending $50 a month on their insurance, but it was really costing them $400 a month, they weren't getting a bill for it, there's a $350 difference, they were pulling it out of this bucket because the interest rates were keeping up with that. So it was okay. They were able to pull out of that because the interest rates was pretty much making up for most of this difference. Does that make sense to you? The cost of insurance was going up. But they were only getting billed for the same amount because the difference was getting pulled from here. Well, the interest rates are not 12 to 14% anymore. Not even close. Okay? So what happened is, this is no longer here to pull from. 12 to 14% is no longer there to make up in our early years, build up a bunch of cash to start pulling all that money from to where this stays 50 and you got your insurance. Okay? What happens is, people were having $30,000 built up into this bucket, cost of insurance going up, $350 needs to get pulled. Well, $350 a month, $300 a month, let's call it, $3,600 a year, is getting pulled out of this bucket. Well, it don't take a genius to see that in 9 years, this policy's gone. Because this is gone. And what happens then is, at this point we're at $400 a month, and then you get a bill for $400 a month. And people that didn't go to school to get their insurance license, you got your insurance license, and most of you didn't understand how this works. So how do you think some other people feel? They don't know. They don't know until they're 70 years old and they get a bill for $700 a month and they're ready to have a heart attack. Not because they're old, because they saw their insurance premiums. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is what I'm educating people on. This is real. This is real. You'd be surprised how many people have those. When I see those, Kirk sees those, anybody that knows how to do this deal, when they see those in the house, it's like I feel like it's Christmas. Because I already know what's getting ready to happen. It's a guarantee. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. And this is why I had to get this out to you, at least to give you, this is just giving you more bullets in your gun. When you go into the house, the more education that you have, the more avenues you can take, the more bullets in your gun that you have. You could just shoot. Yeah, you just pull out any gun you want, just shoot it, because you have so much knowledge. You can go so many different routes. Oh, you got 300,000? What kind is it? Pull it out. Boom. You go that route. But you don't have enough? We'll stay with the 2 job. There's so many different avenues that you can take once you're educated on this stuff. You know what I mean? You probably could even almost do a better job than me, because he was a financial advisor. You probably got education on this stuff I don't have, but you can get people in the house with. Okay, but that's how those work. Now, it's one thing to know how they work, and then it's another thing to know how to read them. When you get their policy, you know how they work, but how do you find the page to show someone this stuff? Because they're not just going to take your word for it. You got to show them on a piece of paper, okay, the way it is. Well, most of the time, either on the front page, usually on the front page, it'll say this, or on one of the pages, it'll tell you when the policy expires. It'll say policy expires 2010. The policy expires 2020. Guess what I do at that point? I take a big pen or marker and I circle it right on their policy. I write on your policy. I say expires real big.
One other thing on a universal, watch out for maturity date. That's a big thing. It'll say either matures at
That's what I mean,
65 or
expired.
95.
Yep.
Sometimes
Maturity
it doesn't show, yeah, maturity date. It'll just show what age they'll be when it matures.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Thank you, Kurt. All right. Then they have guaranteed cost of insurance or guaranteed cash value, and then they'll have projected cash value cost of insurance. Okay? This is what I'm focusing on when I pull this policy out. I can project anything I want. Okay? I can project and get the lottery tomorrow. It don't mean it's going to happen. Right?
Right.
I could project a lot of, it don't matter who you, I've seen the weatherman project nice weather. I walk outside and it's storming. It don't matter. I don't want to deal with projections with my family. I don't want you to project, I think I'm going to be able to cover you. I project, it's not going to cost me any. I want to guarantee myself this situation. Why do you think a lot of the people are in trouble with mortgages right now? Because there was projected, flexible, premium, adjustable, variable mortgages. Doug. That's what I'm saying. Now what's happening? Now they're paying $3,000 a month, $2,000 a month. Some they were paying $1,100 a month for. And everybody's in shambles. The same thing's happening right now, right before our eyes. Okay? So you'll see guaranteed or projected. These are some of the things to look for, okay, on there. And I'm focusing on guarantees. Projected will show them a beautiful picture. Projected is going to show them whatever they want them to see. Okay? Guarantees is what I want to look at. There's something that's a flat amount that's guaranteed. Or it'll just have just cost of insurance. Just be prepared for anything. Not all of them say the same thing. Some of them will try and just limit what they even put on that sheet and make you call in and they'll mail you the cost of insurance and the updated cash values and stuff like that. Not that some of them won't even have some of this stuff on there because they don't want you to see it. Okay? But let's say cost of insurance, okay, says a lot of it won't be in layman's terms because they don't want you to read it. Okay? So let's say it says 0.1234, 0.1357, 0.1895, 0.2675, 0.4329. Okay? Well, I'm gonna say, listen, Doug, I know it don't take a genius, okay, to really realize this, but if you just look at this number, and this number, and this number, and this number, and this, okay, the easiest way I can explain it to you, you seem like a pretty intelligent guy, is that your premium, you see the cost of insurance, okay, here was 0.1234, this is 0.4329, that means that it quadrupled on you, babe. That makes sense? It quadrupled on you, okay? So if you're paying $50 a month right now, it might seem cool, but it's going to quadruple on you, and it's going to be $200 a month, and that ain't going to be cool. Does that make sense? And that's what I'm explaining. Okay, so I'm going to say, okay, and then it'll even show you years. of when this is happening. It'll say 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, right there. Okay, for you. So I'm going to get them to sell themselves. I'm going to say, okay, right now it's $50 a month. Right here it's $200 a month. And as I explained to you, you know, sometimes you won't get a bill for this, okay? Because it's building you up in the early years. It's building you up cash value, okay? Well, if you keep getting a bill for $50, but it's costing you $200, where do you think that they're getting the extra $150 from? I'll ask them. If they don't understand, I'll start the whole process over, educate them again, and say, where do you think the $150 is coming from, Yuri?
Obviously the bank.
It's coming from this bank, okay? Well, let's say we have $20,000 in there, and they keep pulling $2,000 a year from here. What do you think's going to happen when all this $20,000 is gone? What do you think's going to happen then?
10 years.
I'll ask them. Questions sell. What do you think's going to happen? I'll tell them. If they'll tell me, it's gone. Well, not worse than that. Gone, because you see this number keeps going up. Now it turns into $700 a month. You're going to get a bill for $700 a month when you need it the most. You think you need it more. Now, granted, I'm going to proactively say this. Okay, granted, anything can happen. Accidents happen. Anything can happen. But most of the time, statistically speaking, when do you think we need this the most? I mean, it's good to have it at all times, but do you think that you're probably going to have a better chance of using it at 80 or at 30? Of course. So unfortunately, we don't get any younger. We get older. Okay? So then we get them. Then I'll give them 3 options. A, B, and C. If they had $500,000, I'll give them $500,000 at a real deal. $250 and $100. Each one of these is better having something than nothing, and better to you to gain cash value and have it when you need it the most. The best investment that you could possibly make, people talking about investments, the best investment you could possibly make is the one that pays you the most when you need it the most.
Do they, now if they get rid of like a flexible universal policy, do they get the money that's in their bucket?
Yep.
Okay, and I ran
So
into,
this is how that's part of how I get them to go run to get their policies.
Right.
They run to get them from me. They go run and get them. Because I tell them, I've saved people, true story, I've saved people $30,000, $40,000 that they would have lost. If I never came to your house and made you get up off your ass and go get this policy, you would have lost all of this money. They're sending me home with food and cookies and thanking me because they're pulling 30 grand out of there that they would have lost and paying off credit card. I had one guy save $1,100 a month in debt with this when he was getting ready to lose it. Paid off cars, credit cards, couple loans that he had that was adding up to $300-400 a month each to like $1,100 a month. He paid it all off. It opened up $1,100 a month for this guy. He wanted to kiss me on the lips. You think he had any problem giving me a check for $300 when I saved him $1,100? Hell no. He's plus $800 a month. What were you gonna say?
I ran into something recently that it was structured like that, and the lady was also, she had a small understanding of the buildup of it, so she was overpaying her like they only wanted her to pay $80 a month. She's paying $180 a month, so she'll get all that money out. If I like call her back up, just tell her, just get it all out.
If you catch it soon enough. And
Yeah.
that's what I tell people.
She knew
The key
that
is you gotta catch it soon enough before it's gone.
Before it starts taking it out.
A lot of these people, their insurance companies will try and contact them to get them to convert it because they know what time it is. They know what's happening. You know what I mean? But if I burn you once, you're gonna do business with me again. You know what I'm saying? That's something, that's something that's important to touch on. You'll see this a lot. If you ask Renee and Kirk when I trained them on this, I'd say probably 1/3 of our deals was coming from this. This should increase your sales probably about 1/3. 1/3 of probably all of our deals were coming from this. So then if somebody's spending $100 a month already, it's easy for me to get them to spend 150 on something that's going to last them, that they're going to need. Do you want to spend $200 a month now? That's going to give you paid up options that you'll never pay more into this policy than you'll get out of it. Take a paid up option.
Are there types of term that can lock you in for like 30 years?
20 years,
20 years.
30. Those are more expensive.
Alright, yeah, I just
But yeah, absolutely. But I'll pull sheets and show them 3% of term pays out, baby. You know?
AIG
Why don't you
does
just
say-
rent your house for 30 years?
Yeah, that's why I tried to explain it to him how it's not building cash unless he turns 65. He took it out this year. He's 35.
Mhm.
Told him at 65, it's basically gonna be done and over
So
with.
let's say he spends $100 a month.
Yeah,
You're gonna spend 30, 40 grand
on nothing. Just throw it out the door.
on nothing.
If I can.
You know what I mean? You almost be better off spending $10 a month getting an accidental policy for $1 million,
Yeah,
and then getting some whole life.
feel like I had from there.
Because chances are, if you're gonna die before anything happens, I know people that have died before. I got it on my shoulders. Okay, but I'm saying chances of it happening of an accident. You know what I'm saying? Just education. This is basics. Just education. Okay. So getting them to pull out their policies. Do we have a good understanding on that? How about whole life? Okay. What are the benefits of having cash value? Cash value. Cost never goes up. Paid up. Guaranteed.
You can always raise them down.
Terminal illness rider. Can pull out half the money if they needed to before they died. If they knew that they were going to die, if they were projected, the doctor told them that you got so long to live, you're going to die. They could pull out half their policy and use it right now.
Can you only do that with whole life, Simon?
Yep.
You own, don't rent.
Home, like a home versus renting. You can take loans. You can take loans on it. All of this stuff. Let me just talk about this one. Okay. And then there's, I was talking to Doug last night about, I had a grandfather. You just got to think of different avenues. What tweaks people's buttons? Grandfather had money. I knew when I pulled up. He had a pond in his backyard, big house. You could tell he just, kids have been gone. I'm like, what route am I going to go on this guy? And I just threw it out there. I'd rather try than not try. And he kept talking about these grandsons that he had. They were young. So I said, well, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't tell anybody and you left $50,000 to each one of them, get yourself a $100,000 policy, give them $50,000 tax-free to each one of them to pay for their college when you're gone. I'm sure you wouldn't have a problem if you took care of your kids' tuition. Because it's all about leaving a legacy. It's about whatever you do now makes a better life for your kids. It was like that for me. My mom did this to leave a better life for my kids. I'm going to do this to make a better life for my kids than what I had. That's the way it's supposed to be. So I can't think of a better gift that will be lasting on these children's life, long lasting, and leave a legacy that when you die, you can take care of most, if not all, of their college tuition. I had a guy like that. Boom, $100,000, $50,000 each one of their kids. You got to find what pushes and pulls people's strings and people's buttons. Okay, but taxes, the way cash works, cash or houses. Okay, people say, they can have the house. It's not that easy to just sell the house right now without losing your rear end. Do you really want your wife that you've been married to 25 years? You've had kids in this house. You have memories in this house. That the day that you're gone, just have her move in with her daughter, or move out of the house, and in situations like that where you just want to give up the house like that. But the cash, when it gets passed on to the wife, okay, we're good most of the time with taxes. Okay, but when you start to pass this cash and things of that nature down to the kids, these kids have to pay taxes on it. Okay? So let's say I leave $500,000. Justin will probably know the tables on this.
We're talking about just cash money, not
Cash, investments, houses, any assets.
other than insurance.
You leave this down to the kids. If you both kick the bucket or something happens and we leave $500,000, how much of this do you think they'll end up with?
Not much.
350.
1/3.
Maybe. What tax bracket are you in with $500,000?
You're up in the 30%.
Huh? In the 40s. In the almost 50. Plus any income that they got going on. So they're going to end up with 300 out of the 500. So all them years you worked to build up this legacy, you just going to give Uncle Sam 200,000. All your money that you've worked, and you've already given money to Uncle Sam. We're just going to give Uncle Sam that money. This difference. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't it be easy?
Jason.
Wouldn't it be easier just to spend $400 or $500 a month and get yourself a couple $100,000 in guaranteed situation that when you die it goes behind tax-free, not only to your wife but tax-free here? It's one of the only tax shelters left. That's why you see millionaires getting whole life policies, paying thousands and thousands and thousands a month. It's for tax purposes. Or for that tax bridge. For that tax bridge. Take some of that money that you're going to be losing and get this policy so everything that you want goes behind tax-free. Research Ben Feldman. I started you guys off with this stuff upstairs a couple of weeks. Ben Feldman. He'll explain everything on whole life and how everything you could possibly think of. He's the best life insurance salesman of all times. And he's from East Liverpool, Ohio. He is. He's probably, you know what I'm talking about? I got some of his CDs in my room. He died multi-millionaire. He was doing by himself a year what companies were doing total insurance companies for a year by himself. Just in his area. He was working just like it in an hour radius from his house, dealing with stuff like this. I think I probably got the book in here somewhere for some of you guys, but Ben Feldman will educate you on all that stuff, on the taxes and how to save people money, what you can gift to buy insurance policies. You can gift so much, $10,000 a year, and use it as there's all different types of stuff that you can do with that stuff. Okay, so then you got to know this and this, know the term, know the whole life, and educate yourself on different products. Okay, so now how do I get them to pull out the policy? Not that easy, is it? Well, please, first of all, don't ask them to get the policy if you're not educated enough when you get it. You can't write 3,000 a week. Just stick with the basics. From that point, if you stick with just the presentation and just hard cards without getting into Select Life and different products and doing stuff like that, you're not ever going to write 15,000, 20,000 a week. I'm here to tell you. Okay. So, in the Family Information Guide, everything in your presentation is about being proactive, right? I'm going to do stuff proactive so it's easier for me in the long run, okay? So proactively, I get to the estate information. The estate information, okay? Last year alone, there was over $1 billion in unclaimed funds just because people didn't know what they had. This is setting me up to ask them, do you know what you have? For them to say no, and me to say, that's why there's $1 billion in unclaimed funds, go get your policy. Because I'm proactively saying this. Okay? Next is the estate information. Last year alone, there was over $1 billion, not $1 million, okay, $1 billion in unclaimed funds. Just because people didn't know what they had. There's 46 different types of life insurance out there. Each one of them is a different thing. Do you know what kind that you have? Is a term, universal, waiver of premium, executive? Do you know what kind that it is? They're going to look at you like, huh? And I'm going to say, go get your policy. Good stuff. Out of 5, you'll get 3 to grab it. I'll help you get an extra 1 or 2 to grab it by the next thing that I say, if there's any hesitation. Okay? But at that point, more than half are going to go grab it. If you say it with confidence, the right way, and you're trusted as a professional, and your swagger is there. Okay? When I started to get into this, the bigger policies I wrote, the better I got, and it wasn't an arrogance, because I don't carry myself like that. I hope you guys don't think that about me. I'm confident, but I don't carry myself like that. I just would drive my BMW out of the drop top that I gave my mom. I would drive my BMW with a suit and tie on and sunglasses, and drop the top and pull up at the house. People say, "Oh, you should dress down. You shouldn't drive this." I was pulling up in a Beamer, suited up. Ask Renee. I was training her. Ask her. In training. Jump in the car. Drop the top, suit and tie, glasses, pulling up, because I felt I was in the zone. I felt there was nothing anybody could say to me. I'm going to tell them I'm the best. I like your car. I'm the best. It's what the best drives, man. It's how I dress, how I get down. You know what I mean? You'll start to get an extra confidence. When you get that extra confidence, people are going to trust you. People are going to wonder, oh, wow, he's a professional. I'm going to go get this policy. If you don't dress right, smell right, act right, look right, and prove that you're more educated on this topic than them, they're not going to get anything from you. It's a difference. You can't say the same thing or act a certain way and not have that confidence and expect for people to jump. It's a big difference if you say stuff with confidence and you say stuff without confidence. A lot of times it's how you say things, not what you say. I've went over this a few times. You know, I could say, you know, we're joking around or something, and I could say, man, F you, Doug. You know, we're joking around, F you. You know, we're laughing, F you. You see, does that happen? People say F you is real. Most, you know, there's a 20, 30-year-old, 50, 60-year-old people, F you. My uncle's 80, swears like a sailor. Okay? But you could say that, or someone could run over your shoe or smack your daughter, and you're a father, and you say F you to the boyfriend, or F you with a straight face. Totally different story. One, we're joking, pushing, laughing. The other one, we're going to fist fight. Okay? It's how you say things, not what you say. That makes sense? You got to say how. You got to say it with confidence. So I'm going to go over again. Okay? The next portion of this right here, okay, is the estate information. I put a star on it. Boom, circle it. This is the most important one on the page because last year there was over $1 billion in unclaimed funds just because people didn't know what they had. They didn't even know exactly what kind that they had. That's why there was so many unclaimed funds. So I'm putting a lot of emphasis on people didn't know what they had. So when I say to them, do you know what you have? I've already proactively said this is the reason why they were going unclaimed, because people didn't know what they had. Proactively. So I'm going to say, do you know what kind that you have? When they say no, it's over. Because I already talked about this. Now if you just try and get them to go, if you say, well, what kind is that? 100,000? What kind is that? Go get your policy. It's different than proactively saying $1 billion went unclaimed because people didn't know what they had. Right? Say to somebody, well, I have a car, and I will use an example. There's 46 different types. I don't know if there's 46. I just throw a big number out there because I know there's a ton. There's a ton of different cars out there. That's like you saying, well, I just bought a new car. Your best friend called you. What kind of car did you get? I don't know. It's a car. Is it 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive? I don't know. It's a car. Is it going to get you through the winter? I don't know. Think of how people will want to smack you. What? Have you lost your mind? You just spent how much on the car? You don't know if it's 4-wheel, rear wheel with the gas, but would it get you per gallon? You don't know if there's a warranty on it. You don't know what. You don't know when the warranty. You don't know anything. Well, that's the way insurance is. It's the same exact way. There's different kinds, different vehicles, they do different things. Okay, it's important to know what kind that you have. There's a lot out there that end up costing you a lot more money, and we've saved a ton of people a lot of money. Then I follow with, do you know what kind that you have? Is it term, universal, waiver of premium? Do you understand waiver of premium is not a policy, right? Okay. Executive is just one of 4 different whole lives that there is. There's whole life, executive, preferred. There's whole life, preferred, executive, and select. Okay? Is it term, universal, waiver of premium, executive, preferred? Do you know what kind that it is? What did I not say?
Whole life,
Guys picked on quick. Why did I not say that?
because that's how it goes going.
As soon as they hear whole life, that's what they're going to say they have. So I'm going to throw out a bunch, and their head's going to spin. I'm going to say, go get it. It's important to know what you have. That's why it's going unclaimed. There's people saving a lot of money by knowing what they have. There's people losing their ass on not knowing what they have. Excuse my language. Go get your policy. Boom, done. Then they pull the policy out, and you read over it. Okay. Try your best not to bash them. Okay. Lift them up. Man, Doug, this is a good thing that you've done this. You know, a lot of people your age don't even think about doing something like this. So the good thing is that you've thought about it and that you care about your family. And this is close to the amount that you would need. The bad news is it's like buying a 2-wheel drive car or a rear-wheel drive car and you think it's front wheel. Or two-wheel drive and you think it's 4-wheel. It's not going to do for you what I think that you want it to do. Because if you're anything like me, Doug, you don't want to spend more for something down the road than you have to. Do you? Doug. What are you going to say? Yeah, I want to spend more on something than I have to? Because if you're anything like me, you don't want to spend more for something than you have to. Am I correct? Okay? What are they going to say? No, I want to spend more. No, they don't want to spend more. Well, let me see if I can save you some money. People like to hear that stuff. Right? Okay. So there's going to 3 out of 5 are pulling them there. I'm going to get you an extra 1 or 2 to pull them. And some people just won't, and they're stubborn and don't worry about it. Move your ass and get 15 sit-downs minimum a week. Don't worry about it. People are people, man. You're going to have some people don't care. You could bury my wife in the backyard, bury me in the backyard. I don't care what happens to her when I die. She could marry somebody else. And ignorant people, you don't stress yourself out. I've tried it. Believe me. I got a temper. I've gotten myself all worked up over some guy not caring about his wife that I'll never even see after today, and have it ruin my whole field day because I want to go back and strangle this guy for not caring about his wife. You don't do it. Don't get yourself all worked up. It'll affect your whole week. Just go sit down with 5 people a day and do the things that I tell you to do, and don't reinvent the wheel, and you're going to write a ton of business and make a ton of money. Like Kuzmenko. Okay? Kuzmenko could do it. Mansky could do it. Country could do it. I can do it. You can do it. You're all given the same opportunity. Okay? So the next thing is, while I'm in the midst of this, okay, here's the thing. I'll start drawing all this out. You'll get to a point to where you'll probably, and don't you dare do this until you're writing 3,000 a week and you're comfortable giving the whole presentation. But I got to a point where half the presentations I gave stopped at the family information. Stop right there, pull your policies. I'm educating you on what you have, and I'm selling insurance. That's it. No presentation. I'm just pull it out. Here's what you got. Here's what you need. Here's what it costs. Go get your checkbook. Simple. Okay? Because all salespeople need is a place to go, reason to be there, something to say. Got a place to go, reason to be there. I'm going to just change what I have to say because I'm educated enough to do it. Don't do it, you'll commit suicide if you start doing this before you're prepared. Okay? So I'm going to say, okay, well, here's why it's so important. Okay, for this to happen. Because I just saw a guy, there's 46 different types of, there's so many different types of insurance out there. Okay, I just saw a guy that had a certain type of policy. Okay? And there's a couple that are structured like this. Okay? Back in the 80s, they were good, depending on their age. Okay? And especially if I know when they got the policy. Back in the 80s, they were good because interest rates were 12 to 14%. Now interest rates aren't like that. Well, here's the way it was structured. Okay? Is that when they were young, okay, cost of insurance was lower. 50, 100, 400, 700, 1,000, done. Okay? It was lower. Well, this guy was only getting a $50 a month bill, but he's 50 years old. It was really costing him $400 a month. Okay, the cost of insurance was going up, but he never got a bill for it. It's important that you follow up with, but he never got a bill for it. Okay, because if you don't, and I say, well, the insurance is going up, and I move on with my presentation, they'll say, well, my insurance never went up. That's why you got to say, he never got a bill for it going up. Here's what happened. Okay, here's what happened. Is in the beginning, it's building up interest. Maybe he's spending 50, maybe he was making him 100. Okay, so they were 50 to 100 was getting thrown into this account. Okay, this particular guy had $42,000 at one point in his account. Well, what happens is, let's say it's $400 a month, but you're only getting a bill for 50. This is the bank account. Where do you think that money was coming from? Now ask them. Exactly. $350. Out of here. A month. Over $4,000 a year. Okay, $4,000 a year. Let's say it happens for 5 years. Nobody catches it. No big deal. Policy's still the same. Nobody catches it. While he's sleeping, he's losing money. Okay, every month he's losing money. $20,000 gone. He had $22,000 left when I saw him. I showed him 5 years ago. If I was here, we'd have saved you $22,000. Okay, I got good news and bad news. Which one do you want first? You're just like me. Me too, baby. Me too. Okay? You're just like me. I always want the bad news first. Okay? The bad news is you've lost $20,000 in your policy, and then you're eventually gonna lose more. The good news is I'm here. I'm here now. And we're going to save you from losing another $22,000, and we're going to get you involved in something you're going to be done forever and make sure that you're in a good situation. Good news and there's bad news. I'll say that before that I even, if they pull their policy and I look at it, lift them up. Okay, don't just start down degrading somebody. You know what I'm saying? Don't just start degrading what they have. Explain to them it's not your fault that you didn't know. It's good that you have this. A lot of people don't even have anything. If you died right now, you're okay. It's good that you have this. You know, I'm impressed and I'm proud, you know, of you for doing this. But I have good news and I have bad news. And the good news is this. The bad news is this. Whatever you want to create at that point, that the good news and the bad news is. But it's lights, camera, action. You're giving a presentation that's keeping someone in suspense. You're asking them questions. I got good news and I got bad news. I mean, that's like a game in the house. It's keeping people's attention. What's the bad news? What's the good news? It's keeping people's attention in the house. Okay? So I'm going to tell him, well, he pulled out this $22,000. He was paying a couple hundred on this credit card, a couple hundred on this, and owed like $5,000 or $6,000 on his card. He paid them all off and was saving himself $1,000 a month. And he was getting ready to lose this. Do me a favor and let me help you. That's why I'm out here. Go get your policy. After I went through all of this. See if we can't save you some money. How many people you think got their ass up off of that chair and ran and found that policy that nobody can find? Oh, it's under the bed. It's in the safety deposit box. You watch how many people were up there scrambling around, rumbling to find that policy. Rumbling.
Use that guy as an example, like just
Yeah, that guy. Yep. Use him as an example. Watch how many people mentally go through this and they're like, man, they want to know if they got some money. They want to know, wouldn't you? They jump up. Go, back with the policy in 5 minutes. Gone. The ones that nobody can find, they find them. Because they want to know if they're losing this much money. Watch how fast you light a fire up under them and motivate them to go get that policy. Yes, sir, Mr. Year.
What works out with cost of insurance, if I'm getting this right? So you would take the point, like, you know how it'd be 0.1 something and it goes all the way, maybe even to a 2 point something later on in the day.
Yep.
But you take that and you multiply it times the face value, correct? Or the face amount? Or
Sometimes. It's tricky. It depends on how they do it. Some of it is cost per thousand.
Okay.
And it should say cost per thousand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I just keep it simple without confusing the people. I'm going to say, without me confusing you with formulas, I'm going to just explain this to you simply. Okay? 0.123 and 0.246 means that your cost doubled. 0.123 to 0.5 means that your cost just quadrupled. Let's just keep it simple without me confusing. That means the cost of insurance, 0.1 and 0.5, that means that this is almost 5 times more than this amount. Let's just keep it simple. You know what I'm saying? So if you're spending 50 here, you're going to be spending 250 here. But you're not going to get a bill for it until it's too late. Imagine how people feel spending this much money over the course of 30 years, and then when they need it the most, it's gone. Imagine that.
You showed how you saved that guy money. I remember when I was with a different company and we were showing people this stuff is crap, and we were showing them how in 5 years you were going to not have any insurance left, and we had to save that guy's future because where he thought he had 50,000, he was going to have to take a paid up option of maybe 5-10,000 with
Right.
what was left in the cash value if he kept going with it. So it's out there. There's a lot of junk out there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And at the time, it was good. And I'm not going to say that term isn't good, because there's a time and place to use it. But all I want is for people to know what they have, and make sure that what you want it to do is going to do what you want it to do when you want it to do it. That's all. Like I said, if you just want it for 10 years or 20 years for your kids to get out of school, and you got something set aside for when you die at 70, 80 years old that can go behind to your family and cover your bills and cover your expenses and cover the mortgage, something that's permanent too, and you know what this is and you know what you want it to do, specifically why you got it for 10 years, then I'm cool with it. There's a time and a place for it. There is. There's a time for renting. You know, if I'm only going to live somewhere for 3 years as opposed to staying there forever, it might be better for you to rent for a minute. None against that. Just make sure that, I just want you to know exactly what you have and make sure that it's going to do for you exactly what you want it to do, exactly when you want it to do it. Because the best investment that I know of pays me the most when I need it the most. There's never going to be a time that your wife and kids need it more than when you're not here anymore. Whenever that time comes. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now let's go over pension max. You saw my MGA report. We saw people 7,000-9,000 on here. This is what some of the stuff that they were doing in pension max. Select Life. Using the Select Life the right way. Okay? Do we still have my pension max script around here somewhere?
I have it somewhere.
I think I got it right.
Alright. Make sure that everybody gets that. Or give it to your MGA and give it to people that are... I don't want people, like I said, don't start trying this if you can't write 1,500 right now. And I'm struggling to get you over, to keep your 15% bonus. Don't do this. Okay? But, okay, how much... Here's what I'm gonna go to. Okay. How much do you know about your pension? Just real quick. How much do you know about your pension?
I mean, just that, I get some money when I retire.
All right. Just like me. not too much, but you know that when you retire, we're supposed to get some money. Some things aren't always guaranteed. All right, it's important to educate yourself while you're young, while you're our age. You know, if the guy's 30s or something like that, it's important to educate yourself now for what we're getting ready to receive down the road. Okay. Well, basically, when you retire, you're going to have two basic options. Okay, and there's sometimes there's more, some are different, but these are the two main basic options that are pretty much with any pension situation, any pension option. You're going to have probably these two options. Mind you, you hear how I'm phrasing it. There's other options, but these are usually the basic two. Let me give you an example. This way, if this film gets in the Department of Insurance hands, I'm good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you an example. Okay, everyone's pension is different. There's some, but these are two basic ones. I'm going to write you up an example, trying to educate you a little bit. Okay, good. So, first of all, I'm just thinking of going over this. I can't believe that this room ain't packed, man. I'm ready to strangle somebody. I can't believe this room ain't packed right now. I couldn't. This is $1 million advice. I couldn't imagine my SGA running something like this and not being here. I couldn't imagine it. I question how much people really want it. Minus 20% joint and survivor. Okay. Option A is 100% singles. And I'll tell you why I put singles in parentheses. Option B is joint and survivor. Usually it's about 20% less. Was there any more of this? Usually it's about 20% less. Okay? So let's say option A is $3,000 a month. Okay? When we retire. Option B would then be $2,400 a month. Okay? The first sale, we're going to make sales all throughout this presentation. We're going to make sales. Okay? The first sale that we're going to try and make here is option B. We're going to sell them on option B. That's the first sale that we're going to make. We're going to sell them option B over option A first. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Okay? Okay, that's why I'm saying 100% singles. Okay, because I don't want them to pick this. They shouldn't pick this. Okay? $3,000 a month. Option B is joint and survivor. This is typically for a married couple, married situation, joint and survivor. Okay? Basically, the way that this works, okay, is this why it says singles up here is typically you'll get $3,000 a month here, but when you die, nothing gets left behind to your wife. Okay? Option B, it's going to be $2,400 a month, but when you die, half goes to your wife for the rest of her life. Okay? Obviously, which one are you going to pick? And I'm nodding my head, and I'm pointing at option B. Body language is more important than language. Okay? I'm guiding them. And I'm going to say it in a tone of voice to pretty much like it's a no-brainer, like giving them the right answer. So they're going to pick this one because they don't want to feel stupid. So I'm going to say, well, option B is $2,400 a month. $1,200 goes behind to your wife when you die for the rest of her life. Obviously, which one are you going to pick? You see what I'm doing? Obviously, which one are you going to pick? And they pick, boom, they pick B. And say exactly, because you care about your family, because you care about your wife. It's the unselfish thing to do. So I tie them down to option B right there. And I'm lifting them up. Exactly, because you care about your wife. Wife feeling good right now. Yeah. Okay? So we picked option B. Good. One sale. Okay? The only thing is, we're losing $600 a month. Okay, we're losing $600 a month. And let's say there's an option C. Let's say there's an option C. It's gonna be $2,800 a month. But when I die, $150,000 is gonna go on to my wife tax-free. Okay, so I'm paying I'm gonna get $2,800 a month, which is more than 24. We're getting an extra $400 a month. And $150,000 is going behind to my wife tax-free. Over here, she's getting $1,200. Actually, she's going to get taxed on that, so she'll probably be having about $1,000. Okay? Which one would you pick now? Pick option C, right? Because you're saving yourself $400 a month. Plus,
You get about 50.
Mary, I know you'd rather have $150,000 tax-free money right now. Take it like this: if we invest $150,000 and get a 10% interest, we can make how much a year? We can make $15,000 a year and never touch the principal. Well, here we're making 12 grand and there is no principal. Let's go. Come on. You see where I'm going with this? Let's go. Come on, baby. All right. So they're sold on option C at this point. Now, this is going to go off to a separate side when I'm getting ready to write, maybe even write it in a different marker. Okay? Red, green, red for loss, green for gain, or something like that. Get creative. It's not that big of an inconvenience to cover two colors to close the deal. Okay? Because people visually learn, man. Colors are different. You see a billboard in all black and white, you see a billboard with colors. Which one are you going to look at? Keep it real. I'm trying to teach you some stuff here. Okay? So loss, they're going to lose. Let's say we retire at 60. We die at 80. 600, and here's where you got to be quick, and it makes you look so educated. Now people start to believe in you. Okay? If we lose $600 a month, because it's the unselfish thing to do, $600 a month for 12 months at $7,000 a year or more. $7,000 a year over 30 years, we're over how much money? Huh? $7,000 a year for 30 years. Over $200,000 lost. Right? Oh yeah, excuse me, over 20 years. Good. I asked you 30 years like a trick question on accident. So 140, so you're both right. $140,000 lost. Okay, $140,000 lost. Okay, when doing 2,800, saving 400 over here, I put gained. 400 a month, 5,000 a year, 20 years, we're going to gain $100,000 over your retired life. If you live longer, it's going to be more. Okay, it's going to be more. Now, another thing, okay, remember all of these benefits. Don't forget nothing. Don't forget none of these. Each and every part got to be hit on. You know how many times I had to ram my head to get you guys this information so you don't have to? I went through every rebuttal. I'm trying to give everything proactive to you to where it's a smooth presentation. You'll see the grouchiest people in the world get up and get you a $300 check without even a rebuttal. That's when you know you're getting good. If you don't believe me, ask Country. Ask Pat. Ask Kurt. Ask Renee. They've seen it. Smooth. Just smooth. So you leave it a no-brainer. They don't see the $300 a month as a bill anymore. They see it as an investment. They see it as a value. $300 a month ain't that much. People will get a car for $400 or $500 a month, $800 a month, all day. Think about how many times we go to dinner or lunch a week. We'll drop $100 a week on food that we don't need. Lunch, dinner, take somebody out on a date 4 times a week, $400. It's there. It's not that much money. It's not. $70 a week. It's not that much money. If it's used, if you see a value in it, you know, 1 sweater a month will get you this entire policy.
Should have never said the price.
Option A,
You're doomed.
and taking on somebody's life.
Come on, you're with me,
Makes sense.
okay? So we went over option B. We're going over option C, okay? In the tax situation, but now I'm even going to give him something else. What's in it for me? Not only am I making the money, now I'm going to show him what's in it for him. He's really going to love me.
So he loses.
I ain't even there yet.
He lost 140, 100,000.
Yeah, he would lose 140 by picking option B.